Ullrich here. First and foremost, thank you so much for naming Against All Odds your monthly read pick. As a little token of our appreciation, myself, Kris Bryant, and Maggie Cummings have come together to put together a little reading for you all. And the way that we did it was we each are going to read a little taste of the first chapter for our characters. If you're not familiar with Against All Odds, but you're tuning into the reading, the way that we co-authored this book together is each of us wrote an individual character, and each of those characters have their own chapters that are told from their point of view. So I'm actually getting this party started with chapter 1, Bradley, whom I wrote. Being a savior isn't a role you request. You're chosen for it. I, Bradley Richter, was chosen for this. I was gifted my purpose the moment Cheryl told me we couldn't be together anymore. She gave me back the diamond ring I had spent a small fortune on and told me to leave. I begged and I pleaded. I tried to make her understand, but she turned me away. I made it through every stage of grief except acceptance, because I knew Cheryl, and I knew we were meant to be together, and I planned on proving it to her. I wanted to know what Cheryl was doing and who she was with, so I followed her on every social media platform. It all started as a way to remain close and work out a way back to her. I created fake accounts and didn't leave comments. I flew under the radar and went unnoticed, just as I did when I stood across from her house and watched her come and go. I even started to follow her new boyfriend to see who exactly posed as a fair substitute for me. I'd have been willing to make any changes for Cheryl. It wasn't until they walked out of a restaurant one night with a group of friends and family, hand in hand and laughing, that I saw the diamond on her finger. A diamond much larger than I gave her. The scene seemed staged. Cheryl's sister, Lisa, whispered into someone's ear as they fell behind the group. Everything hit me at once. The people around Cheryl were feeding her lies and tricked her into a life she'd never find happiness in. They were all forcing her to become just another easy bitch. I couldn't let that happen to my Cheryl. I could forgive her every indiscretion if she were to come back to me. I knew I could look past the way she ripped my heart out and took everything from my life. I had spent so much on the wedding just to make her happy. I paid to fill every corner of the home her parents helped us buy. My bank account bottomed out, and she kept our house and everything I bought her. I used to hate her for forcing me into a shitty, rundown apartment. Now I hated everyone else. I leaned heavily on my bathroom sink before staring into the mirror. I laughed at my own reflection. I knew I wasn't crazy, but the eyes that stared back at me from the mirror told a different story. I've never been fond of my eyes. They're narrow set and dull brown, the kind no one connects with because there are far better things to focus on. I couldn't look at myself anymore, so I turned on the faucet and watched my hands fill with water. I splashed it against my face. Droplets clung to my uneven beard. No, I wasn't crazy. Everything I had planned was calculated, deliberate, and would be done for my Cheryl. What I was about to do was for love. I dried my face before heading to my small bedroom. I slid the plastic bin and lockbox from underneath my bed. This particular bin was dedicated to Cheryl's friends. I shuffled through the photos to review the faces because I needed to be familiar with the enemies I was up against. I opened the lockbox next. I picked up my gun and smiled as I turned it over in a slow appraisal. I was damn near giddy looking at the .40 caliber in my hand. I took up shooting as a hobby years ago and went as far as getting my own gun. I loved my gun, but today was not its day to shine. I placed it back in the lockbox and grabbed the more basic, less appealing 9mm I had acquired through illegal channels 2 weeks ago. I couldn't believe how easy it was to purchase a handgun and hollow point bullets without any paperwork. God bless America. I loaded the gun and grabbed 2 extra clips, putting one in each of my front pockets of my jeans. I didn't know how many bullets I'd need, but I knew I had plenty for the occasion. Moving targets are harder to hit than a bullseye at the far end of a firing range. I tucked the gun into the back of my waistband. It was a little bulky, and the metal pressing into my skin was painful, but I liked it. I felt more powerful, more in control. It had been a long time since I felt any sort of control. A pair of white plain heels sat in their box on my kitchen table. I dumped them into a bag. I pulled on a hooded sweatshirt. When I gripped the door handle, I felt my nerves start to build. I breathed in deeply and let it out slowly through my nose. It was time for me to be heard. My mission would be completed. That's Bradley. Now up next is Kris Bryant.
Thanks, Em. Kris Bryant here. I wrote the part of Tori Stevens, who is a real estate agent, and she is late to absolutely everything in her life. Could this day get any worse? I couldn't find my keys or my other heel, and I was supposed to leave 10 minutes ago. I knocked over a stack of mail and cringed as it fanned out all over the living room. My 20-pound cat Jaeger pounced on the mess and shuffled it around like a blackjack dealer with a new deck of cards. From the crazy look in his eyes, I knew better than to reach down and try to take the envelopes from his paws. Destroying the mail was his thing. I checked under the couch for any missing bills when I got back. Where were my keys? Where the hell was my other shoe? I limped back up the stairs to my bedroom to check under the bed as a last-ditch effort before I abandoned the heels that matched my suit for shoes that at least paired up. Jaeger, you fluffy asshole, quit taking Mama's stuff. I found my keys under the bed, along with a pair of workout shorts, a sock, a stuffed animal my last girlfriend won for me at a pop-up carnival, and a Corona bottle cap. I didn't even drink Corona. I kicked off the heel I was wearing and opted for lower black ones. They looked okay with my suit, but I wanted to wear my higher heels since I was trying on a bridesmaid dress in about 20 minutes. I grabbed my suit jacket and raced to the garage, anxious to get on the road. I was late to almost everything. Surprisingly, the traffic was light for a Saturday morning. I figured every woman in the tri-state area would be at the mall trying on dresses for the upcoming wedding season. The parking lot was packed. I parked on the side near Angelina's Bridal Boutique, raced inside the mall, and found the store. You must be Tori. My frazzled, I am so late look must have been a dead giveaway. I nodded. I should have been here 30 minutes ago. The friendly associate continued. I'm Amanda. Stacy said you were coming this morning. This shouldn't take long at all. Would you like some water or a cup of coffee before we get you fitted? Coffee. That sounded lovely. I smiled and followed her up to a sitting area with comfortable chairs and an espresso machine. An indoor fountain completed the calming feng shui of the room. As a realtor who staged houses for a living, the arrangement impressed me. The stress of trying on dresses couldn't be easy for anybody involved, so I tipped my hat to Angelina or whoever designed the space. Let me go pull the dress for you and then we'll get started. Amanda disappeared behind a door. Stacy, my best friend since high school, had guilt-tripped me into being a bridesmaid. I'd missed every single wedding get-together because I didn't work normal hours. I had to work with the rest of the world's schedule. Most people needed to see houses after hours and on weekends. I didn't mind that I missed so many of the bridal activities. There was only so much traditional crap I could take. Here we are, Amanda said. She held up a lavender knee-length dress in front of her. I stared at the layers of taffeta and shook my head. This can't be right. Seriously, there must be a mistake. I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture to send to Stacy while Amanda double-checked her paperwork. I paced until my phone rang a minute later. What's wrong with the dress? You don't like it? I sat on one of the comfy chairs and digested the ominous fact that this explosion of taffeta was the dress I was expected to wear. I like the color. I'm just surprised at the cut and all of the layers. I poked at the bottom row of taffeta and it bounced back with vigor. The back of my knees already itched just thinking about sitting in the dress. It's a little 80s, but that's the look Mark likes, she said. I rolled my eyes. Mark was 16 years older than Stacy. I gave the marriage 2 years tops. Come on, it's only for one night. It'll be fun, I promise. I closed my eyes and told myself not to be selfish. This wasn't about me. Okay, I'll wear it, but only because I love you. I already knew I would bring a change of clothes just in case something dreadful happened, like if an entire glass of red wine spilled on it. Don't forget to try on shoes. The shop will dye them to match the dress. So my morning struggles were for naught. Sounds great. Okay, I gotta go. Amanda wants me to try this cream puff on, I said. Stacy laughed. You look good in everything. You could pull off wearing a potato sack. I would actually wear a potato sack instead of this. I told her goodbye and dragged myself back to the fitting rooms. I stopped in the sitting area to grab a tiny bottle of water first. I had no idea why it took Amanda so long to get my room ready. How hard was it to unlock a door and hang a dress up? I groaned and tried to settle down. Today already had long day written all over it, and it wasn't even noon. Next up is Maggie Cummings. Here you go, Maggie.
Thank you, Kris. My name is Maggie Cummings. I'm going to be reading from the point of view of Peyton, who is the third main character in Against All Odds. And in this scene, Peyton has just arrived at the bridal shop and she is feeling the effects of too much partying from the previous night. Oh my God, this was what death felt like. I took a few seconds to look in the mirror, tilting my head back and praying for the Motrin to kick in. I needed headache relief and coffee. Major coffee. The second I was done with this dress fitting, coffee was going to be my first stop. I couldn't believe I was hungover. I never drank the night before I was scheduled to work. But yesterday I was feeling rebellious, so I allowed my friends to talk me into ladies' night at Lulu's in Hoboken. It'd been so long since I'd been out partying, I clearly tried to make up for lost time. Tons of dancing, way too many drinks, but so much fun, even if I was paying the price now. Exiting the dressing room, I stepped out onto the pedestal and took a deep breath, willing myself just to get through this. "Are you okay?" the seamstress asked. I nodded yes, but she looked up at me with concern. "Are you sure? You're listening a little. You aren't going to keel over on me, are you?" "No, sorry. I had a late night, not much sleep." I sugarcoated the truth and forced a smile to assure her I was all right. She looked unconvinced. To get my blood flowing, I rolled my shoulders and arched my neck a little and was met with a waft of freshly brewed coffee coming from somewhere close by. Did they actually have coffee here? I must have said it out loud because the next thing I knew, a smoking hot brunette offered to fix me a cup. And even though I didn't verbalize a response, my longing expression must have answered for me because immediately the gorgeous stranger asked me how I take my coffee. I would never expect someone to wait on me, but with the pins in my dress, there was really nothing I could do to help myself. "If you don't mind." "Absolutely not." The saleswoman cut me off right away. "Coffee is complimentary for our patrons before or after their fitting. I can't have you sipping a hot beverage while I'm doing this, and you are wearing a very expensive dress." She looked up at me. Sorry. Her voice softened, but she didn't really sound apologetic. My dream of medicinal caffeination was too good to be true. The brunette clearly felt my pain because she rolled her eyes in obvious disapproval. "How about some water?" she challenged, directing the question to the salesperson. We all knew who was in charge here. But instead of waiting for a response, my ally pushed. "She can at least have some water, right?" I loved that her voice held a challenge, as though we were in this together, somehow bonded in my plight. The saleswoman sighed deeply, but acquiesced with a stern warning to be careful. I was rewarded a small bottle of water, an adorable wink, and an introduction from my heroine, Tori. In the corner of the shop, there was some commotion with one of the bridal parties, and the saleswoman excused herself to assist. Tori took the opportunity to snag me a refill. I silently mouthed thank you and felt myself blush when our hands touched. Tori graciously pretended not to notice. She was absolutely stunning and probably used to having this effect on people. I was embarrassed anyway. "Rough night?" Tori asked with a grin. I bit my lower lip and scrunched my nose in response. "Bachelorette party high drinks?" she asked. "No." I drew out the one word as long as possible because my night couldn't have been further from what I assumed she was picturing. I probably went slightly overboard because her eyebrows lifted and she was clearly waiting for me to provide some details. "I was at Lulu's in Hoboken. Do you know it?" She crossed her arms and said nothing for a second until her full lips curved at the corners. "Lulu's. I know it well." Her eyes met mine and locked. Excellent. My morning had just taken a turn toward the fantastic. "I haven't been there in ages," she said, sounding almost wistful. "Work has me fully at the whim of other people's schedules." "What do you do?" I asked. Tori told me she was a realtor, and it sounded like she enjoyed her job even though she worked a lot. We talked the entire time I was waiting to finish my fitting. Tori lived in Red Bank, and she was here because she was going to be the bridesmaid for an old friend. She made an unimpressed face at the dress she was holding, a frilly lavender gown. I told her I was sure it looked great on her because the truth was, she probably looked amazing in everything. She had long wavy hair, beautiful dark eyes, and eyelashes that went on for days. She was tall and her body was incredible. I couldn't help but notice throughout our conversation she made no mention of a significant other. Could this gorgeous woman really be single? I don't know where I found my nerve, but I was speaking before I could stop myself. "You should come to Lulu's next month." I waved my phone. "Give me your number, this way we can coordinate." I was a little disappointed in my delivery because I sort of chickened out of being direct, but I didn't want to come on too strong and put her off completely. She grinned, and her raised eyebrows told me she saw right through my facade. but she answered with 10 digits. I typed them in and entered her name into my contacts. This is me texting you right now. I looked over my phone as I typed a quick message. I'm Peyton, by the way. Peyton, Tori said, as though committing it to memory. She looked as if she was going to say something else, but a salesperson approached and guided her into a dressing room that had freed up. Just before she went in, she turned back toward me and let her eyes run the full length of my body. I felt a shiver and smiled right back because I wanted her to know I was interested. We'd only shared a brief few moments, but there was a definite spark. I had a good feeling about this. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy reading Against All Odds as much as we enjoyed writing it.